To our Policy and Resources meeting here in the Town Hall. And first of all, can I take any apologies? Anybody indicating? No apologies. Okay. We have signed the minutes and the confidential minutes of the last meeting, so that is done. Any declarations of interest? No indications of any declarations of interest. Excellent. Okay, we're going to move to part 4, which is our reports for decision. So Corporate Services and Governance Directorate is first, and 4.1 is consultations. So Louise.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So there are 2 responses for decision. The first is the draft response to the Department for Infrastructure's draft road maintenance strategy, and members are reminded that council powers have been delegated to this item. So the draft response broadly supports the strategy. However, we believe that successful implementation will depend on adequate and equitable funding, prioritisation and meaningful engagement with local councils and communities. We also state that the department should embed compliance with the Rural Needs Act and the Climate Change Act within the strategy to ensure rural equity and climate resilience are central to decision making. The second response for decision is our response to the Department of Finance consultation on the small business rate relief options, and that's at Appendix 2. And again, council powers have been delegated to this item. So the draft response welcomes the opportunity to respond, strongly supports both the scheme and the proposed increases. So members will be aware that the business rate relief reduces financial pressures, enables businesses to grow and creates jobs and strengthens economic resilience. And in the options set out, we are advocating for option 1, and this has both increased reductions and additional sort of tapered support for businesses, and just estimate based on the number of businesses, and we estimate that possibly about 330 businesses would be able to avail of that tapered support if that option became available. It is the most expensive option. It is the most expensive option offered, but at 10.68 million to the cost of the department, but it is essential as we advocate. So there are a number of items for information. So forthcoming consultations, which a response will be presented. So that's on the Department of Finance draft budget and the DFC's the DFC's disability strategy. A couple of responses submitted since the last P&R to the Housing Executive and the Northern Ireland Audit Office, and consultations referred to other committees. So just an additional one to mention here, that's a consultation led by DERA on resources and waste management strategy, and that's due the 8th of April, and that will go to Environmental Services. And just to note, the response to the Soil Association consultation on forest management will be an officer response due to tight time scales, and so that will be noted at the next P&R in an appendix. At 3.4, a number of consultations for noting, and just to add that there has been a recent consultation launched by the Department for Infrastructure on speed limit reviews, and that's due the 22nd of April. So, so it's recommended that the council approves the draft responses to the DFI draft road maintenance strategy and the consultation on business rate relief, small business rate relief, and the council notes the additional information presented on forthcoming consultations submitted since the last P&R, those referred to other committees, and those for noting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Louise. Dermot?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'm happy to propose the responses there, and well done to yourselves for drafting a good response. I just want to put on your radar two other consultations to do with housing. One is the decent homes standards, and then the other one is the notice to quit periods. They're both recently have been launched there, so I think it's important that we get a good response to them as well. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chairman. Seamus?
Thanks, Chair. It's just I might have missed this here. So where it talks about the council supports the A5 Western Transport Corridor as a critical project. That's absolutely right. But the A4, have we mentioned it as well? It would be one that people in Fermanagh would be very keen on, and it'd be a kind of a critical infrastructure for us as well. So I'm wondering, should that be included? If it's not, and apologies if I missed it in it. And I'm happy to second if the clearmative.
Yep. Thank you, Seamus. Louise?
Yes, we can certainly strengthen the response in terms of the A4.
Yep. Okay. No other comments or thoughts? Are we all happy enough with that? Okay. Thank you, members. We're moving on to 4.2 and financial matters. Catherine is there, already ahead of me.
Okay. Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. Tonight's report, members on financial matters, includes the regular monthly management accounts and a proposed service pricing model to take effect on the 1st of April 26 and to provide an update on the estimates process for 26-27. So the first item, members, is the management accounts for the 8-month period ending 30th of November 2025. It's supported by the detailed appendix, which is the normal management accounts, and has been prepared comparing actual expenditure for the period against profiled budgets for that period. The net operating expenditure amounted to £28,847,724 out of a profiled budget of £29,928,883. Total expenditure then to be financed, members, at this stage amounted to £30,181,750 against a profiled funding budget of £31,263,909. And members, just to note, the reasons for variations are broadly in line with those reported in the previous number of months. Appendix 2 and agenda item 2.2 in the report is a service pricing model, members, and we have in some ways worked through this through the estimates, processes and assumptions for the 26-27 year, and as such, the list of proposed prices, service charges effective from the 1st of April 2026 are attached to Appendix 2. And members, just to note, just given the numerous number of fees, charges and prices, including statutory fees, the paper is supported by detailed individual pricing lists, which will be published subject to approval on individual sections of the Council's website. For example, significant detail on licence fees, theatres, Marble Arch Caves, leisure centres, the castle, and registration fees. So they're not necessarily attached as part of the appendix, but will be supporting the appendix itself. And then, members, just noting, as recent as yesterday evening, the second elected member estimates workshop took place, and that followed on from the previous workshop on the 17th of November 2025 and a series of member party briefings. And we as officers now will work towards the presentation of a suite of papers, including proposals for yourselves in advance of striking a non-domestic and a domestic rate for 26-27 at the special council meeting, which is planned for the 5th of February 2026. So, subject to any queries, Chair, that recommendations are at section 9.1 that the Council approves the management accounts for the period ended 30th November, approves the service pricing model and arrangements as detailed in Appendix 2, effective from the 1st of April 2026, and notes the estimates and rate setting process update for 26-27. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Have we any comments or thoughts? Mark? David, is it? David?
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to Catherine and the team again for getting those reports ready for us. I'd just like to propose the noting of them, please. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, David. And if we have seconder, Eddie, thank you. Okay, we are happy and content there. Okay, thank you. We're moving to 4.3. Consider a report on procurement and tenders. Paper C. Catherine?
Yeah, thank you, Chair and members. This is a report on tenders to be awarded, tenders to be issued, and contracts to be extended. So in detailed in section 2, members, is details of 2 tenders to be awarded, 5 tenders to be issued, and 5 contracts to be extended. And also the report includes, for information, 5 tenders awarded during the month under delegated authority. And just maybe to note, members, this is possibly the final report in this format, and following the council approval of the updated procurement policy. But in next month's report, we will include covering context in relation to any changes in that in compliance with the new procurement policy. So subject to any queries, Chair, the recommendations are set out in detail at section 9.1 and 9.2 of the report.
Okay, thanks, Catherine. Any thoughts? And if not, can I have a proposer and seconder, please? Dermot proposing and Anne-Marie seconding. Thank you. We all agreed? Okay, excellent. Chief Executive's Department now, and we move to 5.1. Alison?
Thank you, Chair. Members, good evening. The first report, paper D, is the report of the Irish Unity Working Group meeting, which was held last week on the 12th of January. So the report sets out, I suppose, the key discussions at the meeting. Councillor Little was nominated as chair of the working group, and that will be until the end of the council mandate. The working group also considered the terms of reference, so they are appended for consideration and approval, and also considered its overall work programme. So there were 3 broad strands, Chair, there also detailed in the report: a research programme, an events programme, and an engagement programme. And I've detailed below each of those the proposed components. And the group is, while we would probably meet on a quarterly or potentially bi-monthly basis, it's recognised that there will need to be some meetings probably at a greater frequency in the period until June. So as such, the next meeting is scheduled for 7 o'clock on Thursday, the 19th of February. So recommending, Chair, that the Council notes the update of the meeting, approves the terms of reference and approves the work programme, and proceeds to progress the various activities required to deliver its sections 231 to 233 inclusive of the report. And finally, that we proceed to tender for the research strand of the work and then award to the most advantageous tender. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Alison. Debbie?
Thanks, Chair. I'd like to propose this paper. It's a really important piece of work that the council is going to be engaged in. As the conversation about constitutional change and Irish unity is happening more frequently, it's our responsibility to prepare, plan and consult all of the residents in our council area. We have a responsibility to do that, and we know that from the disasters of Brexit. Not to do it would be totally irresponsible. So we need to explore any implications for our council area. And the proposals in the paper presented tonight will provide an invaluable forum for all in our local community to feed into to be able to feed in their views. So I propose, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Debbie. And have I a seconder? Nolene, thank you. And Mark?
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks to the Chief Executive for the report on this. I mean, Chair, I don't really care what individual people's political views are. It doesn't really bother me. What does bother me is the fact that this council is putting £20,000 of ratepayers' money into what is an overtly political group. And I look at this report and, you know, I didn't support the establishment of this group. That's fine. That's taken for given or for granted. But I read this report and I was actually more concerned after reading this update than I was even before it. I'm just going to quote a couple of lines. So 2.3.1.
Just the mic. Sorry.
Sorry, Mark. Apologies. Carry on.
So under 2.3.1, under the research programme, it states, proceed to tender to commission research on the role of local government in preparing for a new Ireland. This is not a working group to consider all possibilities or all eventualities. This is clearly, under that language, in preparing for a new Ireland. That is clearly a stance or a decision that this working group is proceeding forward with. Then under 2.3.2, it is recommended that the Council should proceed to arrange a series of lectures, presentations and discussions on work already undertaken in relation to preparations so this is an important bit, work already undertaken in relation to preparations for a new Ireland and constitutional change. Again, that's not an opinion. That is the statement of fact that this Council is making a statement of fact of a new Ireland and constitutional change. That's not a political opinion. That has been presented as fact. Then under the same section, paragraph below, it states, it was further proposed that work should commence on arrangements to convene a political panel discussion on preparing for Irish unity. That's not on preparing for the possibility of Irish unity or the potential for Irish unity. That is stating that as a matter of fact. And Chair, I'm going to be completely honest. I think this report, there has been a line crossed tonight, a very, very serious line, unfortunately, and it does call into question a significant number of things, but particularly the political impartiality of FODC as an organisation. We sit within the Ulster Unionist group in this council. Of course, we are going to adopt a pro-union stance. There are nationalists elected with a full mandate in this council. Of course, they are going to adopt a nationalist or Republican stance or a pro-United Ireland stance. That's fine. That's politics. This council, however, should not be adopting what is clearly a leaning political stance, or it's an overt political stance. I quote that again. It was further proposed that work by this council should commence on arrangements to convene a political panel discussion on preparing for Irish unity. I would like to get a little bit of clarity in terms of perhaps there was a mistake made, perhaps just sentiments were, inaccurately expressed within this report. Can I get a comment from the council that does it still stand by those three particular sections that I've quoted tonight? Because if it does, that causes further serious questions in my mind in relation to the impartiality of this organisation. And we will not be supporting the terms of reference. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Bring Shirley in. So Shirley.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I would like to broadly agree there with what Mark has said before me. I'd like to definitely put on record the DUP's opposition to this Irish Unity Group, specifically for the following reasons. It's pushing a specific agenda, alienating those who don't share the same views. It'll create divisions and tensions amongst councillors and amongst the electorate. As I always imagined, our goal as councillors on the Fermanagh and Omagh District Council is to build mutual respect and equality. This group does the exact opposite to that. The council should be impartial, working for the good of all our people. Certainly leaving out the unionist population. And this group, to me, is very political motivated and shouldn't have been formed using the taxpayers' money. That's all I would like to put on record. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Shirley. And Anne-Marie?
Thanks, Chair. I suppose just a few points. I think I would like the Chief Executive to confirm that this Irish Unity Working Group is open to all parties, and the fact that some have chosen not to take part, that's their decision. They have made it one-sided. The decision on Irish unity will be a matter for the Irish people, North and South. So having a working group won't impact on that. This is about having a discussion. So I don't know what's to fear from discussing what are the outcomes and workings of potentially Irish unity. I'm not sure what the unionist parties are looking for. Do they want us to go down the same road as they did with Brexit and end up in a hole and everything a mess. I think this is an opportunity to discuss the impacts and the potential for the future. Having the working group isn't anything to fear. And I think the stance they've taken is fear.
Okay. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Seamus?
Thanks, Chair. And I suppose, as sure as day follows night, if Irish or GA or Irish language or anything's mentioned, the good old UUP jumps in, you know. They really are harking back to their dominance of the 1940s, where there wasn't famously said about by one of their prime ministers, you wouldn't have one of them about the place, you know, on a Protestant parliament for a Protestant people, all that. It seems to be harking back to them days. And, you know, Councillor Ovens, as one of the younger ones, you would think it maybe be forward thinking and be thinking, you know, if there is change coming, we need to be in there at the coalface, you know, shaping it that suits our community and that. But no, there he is again with sand coming out of his ears, where he had his head buried in the sand like the old ostrich. So there's nothing much to be said about it.
Okay, thanks, Seamus. And Victor?
Thank you, Chair. Well, I was sort of waiting for that response from Councillor Green to have a wee go with the Ulster Unionist Party. Look, it's been stated before, and this is a personal point of view, and any other of my party members can have their own point of view. I have no problem against the Irish language. I've stated that before, and I'll state it again. Look, it's a case that they're putting the cart before the horse. We keep hearing this famous speech that momentum is building for Irish unity. I think it's a pipe dream among members of Sinn Féin, but nobody else. And, you know, if it happens, it happens. But we have a committee which the terms and reference and stuff has been read out there, who are basically thinks that it's 3 years down the line or 5 years down the line or whatever. We have to, you know, there's been no mention even of a border poll yet. So I think it's a long way down the line, but that's my opinion, and we're all entitled to opinions. But, you know, I agree with the previous speakers, Mark and Shirley. It really is putting the cart before the horse. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Victor. And Robert?
Thanks very much, Tom. Probably we are going to be predictable, as Councillor Green says, but in being predictable, we have to stand by our principles. I appreciate the other side of the coin. Basically, you're standing by your principles. But actually, for us to think about even membership of such a group preempts the thought of a valid discussion before that even happens. So I feel it is, as Councillor Warrington said, putting one big cart before the horse, and we won't be supporting it. So I'm predictable.
Thanks, Robert. And Debbie, you've been in before, so I'm going to move to Colette here.
Graham here, go to Caherley. Predictable is the word. So let's be predictable and go down the same route as the Brexit. The invitation is open to the Irish Unity Working Shop. Why don't you come along, have a discussion? That's what it is, a working group for discussion on our island that is actually broken at the minute. Our country, you can call yourself whatever you want, but you're Irish. Your Irish language was here long before your great-great-great-grandparents, and it'll be here to stay. And I just think that you should be very open-minded in this day and age and come and talk. That's what the young people want.
Okay, thanks, Colette. And Eddie?
Thanks, Chair. Our party haven't joined this because of really the terms that were laid out in the first place. Even the name Irish Unity Group really does bring it down one avenue. The question I really have is actually to the Chief Executive about the terms of reference that are put down. Is there a risk that what we're looking at from the report tonight is that there is a predetermined outcome in the report, and is that reducing the kind of the legality of where we're going down that route? If there's a predetermined outcome and a stance on that front.
Max?
Okay. Thanks, Eddie. And Debbie, I'm going to let you make a short second intervention.
Yeah, it is just a short thing. First of all, I just want to correct Victor, we're not a committee, we are a working group, and everybody is welcome to join the conversation. It isn't a Sinn Féin the conversation is going on amongst all different people from all different persuasions, so it isn't a Sinn Féin thing, and to insist that it's wrong. This is a conversation for everybody to join in.
Okay. And guys, we're not going to go back around the houses to just sort of do, so I have, Shirley, were you looking back in?
I was, just one wee line, and no disrespect to Colette at all. I was born British, my birth certificate's British, and I will die British. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And if you, then Mark?
Thank you, Chair, and I appreciate you letting me back in. I mean, there's a use of the word fear earlier. I mean, just to make it absolutely clear, as I said, I'm pretty open, I'm pretty relaxed about individual people's political opinion. I don't really care, frankly. I mean, we all know, within this chamber, we all know what way we would vote in a referendum. My issue, and so I don't fear this group whatsoever. To be completely honest, I'm a relatively confident unionist. I don't eat and breathe and live my unionism. Everyone knows what my politics are. But there are so many bigger issues going on within this district than an Irish Unity Working Group. I talked about bins last week. Next week it could be something else. There are so many greater priorities than this. But Chair, the one thing that has tipped this over for me personally, and I know for colleagues within the UP certainly, is the fact that we are now using up to £20,000 of ratepayers' money towards this. And this is money that this council, that Sinn Féin took out of the hands of local community groups, PTA clubs, GAA clubs, hall funds, and Sinn Féin can laugh. That's not really a laughing matter to me, because I've spoken to many groups. I had a phone call this afternoon from an organisation that, put it this way, would not traditionally be aligned to the UUP, and they were disgusted that £20,000 of ratepayers' money had been withheld from that and put into this, something that will deliver no benefit whatsoever in terms of on-the-ground support for groups and organisations.
I think you've made that point fairly clear there. Victor?
Very quickly,
Chair, gentlemen.
Very quickly, very quickly and briefly, Chair. Thank you for letting me in again. Look, I don't fear anything. As someone who was born and reared in the back end of Rusley, a stone's throw from the border, why would I fear anything? And that goes without saying. I'm as British as they come. I class myself as British. I have a British passport, and I'm going to leave it there.
Okay, credentials all established there, guys. I nevertheless have a proposer and seconder, but before I move to that, I want to ask Alison to comment.
Thank you, Chair. I'll pick up hopefully on the various comments and queries that were made, though maybe not necessarily in the order. So firstly, in relation to whether the terms of reference are before you in draft or the final draft as discussed at the working group, that they're obviously up to the council ultimately to approve, and there's an opportunity for those to be refined or amended this evening. The starting point for the establishment of the working group is the motion which the council adopted, so therefore that's why I suppose the lead into the terms of reference reflects that. With regard to the membership, it was agreed previously that the council would nominate 15 members to the group, and at the time of writing it, as I've noted, the Ulster Unionists, Democratic Unionists and Alliance parties have declined to nominate. However, as members have stated, the invitation would remain open. In relation to the general arrangements, Chair, I suppose just to highlight the values section of the terms of reference, which specifically refer to the values of respect, inclusion and diversity, and also refer to the inclusive process, which is one of the areas referenced in the wider research exercise. Members will also be aware of our equality obligations as a council. So clearly any of the programmes or initiatives that would be being brought forward would have to be respectful and reflective of those obligations. In relation, Chair, to the Councillor Robbins had said if the council was standing over I suppose the report, I'm certainly, there are a number of members of the working group here satisfied that the report and the proposed activities are, in my opinion, an accurate reflection of what was discussed and requested. It's clearly, if there are inaccuracies within that, they can obviously be addressed. But certainly, while the minutes of the working group will go to the next meeting and ultimately be reported through, I believe the themes that have been identified and the content of those themes is the accurate reflection of the discussion on the night. And I think and hope that covers the various points, Chair.
Okay, yes, indeed. Thank you, Alison, for those clarifications. And I'm now at the point where I have proposed by Debbie and seconded by Nolene. We all agreed? Okay, we have dissent there in the chamber. So what we'll do is we'll have a vote on it. We can have a recorded vote, yes. So we set that up.
It's essentially just keep it. So we vote here. Vote on WebEx.
So it can.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, votes live in the chamber and should be on WebEx as well.
So you have 11 votes for, 5 against, and 1 abstention. So the proposal's carried.
Okay, so the results of the vote are 11 for, 5 against, and 1 abstention. So the proposal is carried. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to 5.2, and that is paper E.
Yes, Chair, just for formal approval by the committee, these are the minutes of the November meeting of the Rural Affairs Subcommittee, which was chaired by Councillor McCloughery in Councillor Rainey's absence.
Okay, thanks, Alison. And Anthony?
I'll propose the note, Thomas.
Thank you. And have a seconder? Josephine?
I'll second, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We all agreed? Okay, thank you. Moving to 5.3.
Sorry, Chair, thank you. And I noted to members at the council meeting last week that this report would normally come to Regeneration and Community, but just a timing issue. So these, Chair, are the recommendations from the recent meeting of the Grant Aid panel in relation to a number of grant aid recommendations. So they are detailed in the appended report, and the recommendations are that the committee would approve the grant aid panel report, which is held, so the meeting was in 16th of December, and also then the grant aid bursaries for noting, and those would be the ones recommended by the relevant heads of service.
Okay, thanks, Alison. Have I got a proposer, seconder? Mark proposing, thank you. And Anne-Marie seconding. All agreed? Thank you. Moving to 5.4.
Thank you, Chair. Just my own miscellaneous report and just 2 items in the report, Chair. The first is an update really on ICLRD, but it's more specifically in relation to one of the recommendations within the report, which was that the Council would arrange an international health symposium to be aligned with Ireland's presidency of the EU, and that would take place in the latter half of this year. So clearly, Chair, that will require some input and support. So the recommendation is that we would seek a quotation from ICLRD to assist with that work. And then the second item is an update in relation to the proposed visit to the Somme and associated commemorative events. So I've set out the detail in the report, Chair, but in summary, the Council had nominated a delegation to visit or to attend the ceremonies last year. We were unable to facilitate that due to a number of really logistics around travel arrangements, and it was resolved that we would engage on an earlier basis with the Somme Association. We don't yet have an official invitation from the Somme Association for the events in July. However, we have had the confirmation from them of the broad arrangements. We've also been engaging, and an opportunity has arisen to participate with a small group, but that would necessitate a 6-night stay, leaving, as indicated on the report, on Saturday the 27th of June and returning on Friday the 3rd of July. So the approximate cost, Chair, are about £900 per person. That may be slightly higher depending ultimately on flight prices and conversion rates and so on for the euro, but that's our estimate at the moment. So the recommendations are that we, as I say, proceed to arrange the ICLRD or the International Health Symposium with support from ICLRD, and then we would like the Council to consider whether you wish to nominate again for the commemorative ceremonies this year, which will be the 110th anniversary of the Battle of the Somme, and if so, that you would authorise the flight accommodation and associated arrangements can be progressed in advance of the Council ratification of the committee recommendation. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Alison. And Mark?
Thanks, Chair. And sorry, it's only a declaration of interest for me on that item 2.1. Sorry, I missed at the start.
Okay, that's grand. Noted. Seamus?
Thanks, Chair. And I'm happy to propose the recommendations. Unlike my fellow councillors on the other side, I have no problem in being magnanimous and in things like that. So, yeah, I would propose it.
Thanks, Seamus. Have a seconder? And Debbie is seconding. Okay, are we all agreed? And do we have a thought just on the nomination there? If anybody wants to agree.
Thanks, Chair. No, I don't have any nominations for the trip. I just wanted to ask Alison, do we have confirmation of where the in-person on the 17th of February is taking place? Is it going to be the Manor House?
Sorry, Chair, I should have neglected. It's actually, no, it's the Killyhevlin. So it'll be in the Killyhevlin Hotel, and we will promote that, and we'll also send out to the participants who had attended the workshop, as well as wider stakeholders, at 10 o'clock commencement, and we should have the programme just finalised in the next day or so, but certainly we have sufficient information to confirm arrangements. And Chair, just in relation, sorry, to your query, I noted in the report, but maybe should have been clearer. So previously the Council had nominations from Councillor Crawford, Councillor Hawkes, and it was also suggested if I was available to attend, obviously there'd be scope for additional nominations or for those to be revisited, but I know both Councillor Crawford and Hawkes remain available to visit.
Okay. So at this point, there's no other indications, so we're going to take it that that group, unless indicating otherwise, are they nominated at this point in time? Okay, there's no contrary to that, so that's if there is a change to anybody other than Councillor Crawford and Councillor Hawkes, then they can let us know that
yes, please.
They are or not available. Okay, we're happy enough with that, guys? we're going to move on. So moving to correspondence.
Yes, Chair. The first item is just for noting, and it's NILGA's newsletter from December, so hence the seasonal coverage.
Okay. Proposer and seconder to note. Nolene, thank you. And the seconder and Colette, thank you. All agreed. And our second piece of correspondence then.
Yes, Chair, this is an event, and I suppose it is something we would encourage attendance at. Members have obviously a significant interest in our district around civil contingencies and associated arrangements. And this is an event that NILGA, together with the Civil Contingencies Resilience team that works across local government, are doing. And it's in the Northern Ireland Fire and Rescue Learning and Development Centre in Desert Crate in Cookstown. Be on the 18th of February. The programme is set out half day in the morning and is a free event. But obviously, if we could get nominations, it would be then an approved duty. But I know they are keen to have councillor representation.
Okay, thanks, Alison. Have we any takers on that? Robert?
Just pointing out that clashes with the planning committee in Oma.
Yeah.
Chair, just to note, it will be over though. It's concluded by 1 o'clock. So
Lunch. We'll be driving on an empty stomach, anybody that goes.
It's-
So noted.
it's up to members, but
Yeah.
certainly there'd be time, I imagine, for at least part of the presentations.
Yeah. And then to also note that we're not all on planning, so there's lots of other people that haven't got planning duties. Okay, so I'm not getting any uptake on this. Going to leave it open for a little while.
We can include it again at the council meeting in February, Chair, if we
Yeah.
have time. So
Who's indicating there?
we'll do it at the February council then.
Yeah. That's it. Okay, and can I just get a proposal and seconder to note it? Eddie and Debbie, thank you. Okay, excellent. Any other?
Yes, Chair, we've two items of other correspondence. The first is from the Department for Communities, and this is in relation to the ongoing work on the review of the Rate Support Grant, which is obviously quite an important financial instrument for not just our council. So in essence, this is advising of the department's intent to collate further details. You'll have seen, Chair, that the closing date for the submission of the information is the 27th of February. So at this stage, we'd be recommending just that members note, but also that they'd authorise us to just provide the necessary information for the department, and also just to restate the importance of the Rate Support Grant, but also that it should be reinstated to its original value.
Okay. Can I have a proposer and seconder for that? And Dermot?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I'm happy to propose the correspondence there. And just, I suppose, whenever the response has been collated, will that be provided to members as well? Because it's very interesting to actually assess the Rate Support Grant and what it has meant for us over the last few years, and what its reduction has meant as well. I think it's very important that we understand that, because, you know, the Department of Communities is essentially trying to say that, you know, we don't need this money really, and that's why they're not prepared to put a baseline or a minimum amount in it. And we're just going to see further reductions as time. I know there's maybe not, you know, there's a bit of a change this year, a small change, but the overall trend is that it's going down. So, and it is very important for us. So I think we make a very good case that funding is essential. I think that's very important. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, Alison?
No, Chair, just to confirm, we'll certainly do that. I'm mindful if you like, the February meeting falls quite early for us, but we'll endeavour to have the response ready for then, and agree entirely with the points made.
David?
Chair, just coming in to second that, Chair.
Okay, excellent. Are we all agreed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just one final item of other correspondence just received today, and it's the ICBAN, just their normal update and setting out their, I suppose, some of the projects and also the chairing arrangements going forward.
Okay, proposed and seconded to note. Robert, thank you. Don't all rush. Nolene, thank you. And that concludes all our correspondence then. Any urgent or relevant business? There's been none notified. So at that, we move to confidential. Rob? Opposed? And Anne-Marie seconding. Okay, thanks, Adele. And if I could ask Alison to give us a little coverage of what we discussed.
Thank you, Chair. While in committee, the Council considered the report on confidential staff matters, noted the updates and agreed with recommendations, and also noted the confidential report of the Director of Corporate Services and Governance, and received updates, Chair, on 2 ongoing legal matters.
Okay, thanks, Alison. Can we propose and seconded to note that Anthony and Elaine? Okay. We all agreed. Thank you, members, and that concludes business. Thank you all for your cooperation and participation. And thank you, officers, for information provided and questions answered.